Well, the Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir is getting ready for another exciting season of 3 unique concert offerings that will be stretched out over the course of the next few months. We've got a lot to break down with these concerts as well. Some beloved favorites and lesser known gems and correspondences. John Murray is the president of the Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir and joins us live in the Classic 107 studios to tell us more. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Nolan. Thanks very much for having me.
Thanks so much for being here. So, first of all, you've been singing with the Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir for about 4 years now, I understand. For those who might not be familiar with the experience, what can people expect from the atmosphere and the vibe of a Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir performance?
In terms of the vibe and the experience, Nolan, it's really something that does have to be experienced live at one of our concerts. The Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir is one of Western Canada's longest standing choral groups, going into our 103rd season. We tend to have rather an eclectic mix of very traditional, large choral works. And in recent years, we have broadened that appeal to become more international and looking at some of the more esoteric pieces that are coming out of modern composition. And so with our upcoming season, we begin in December with a very traditional Christmas concert, which we have been doing for a number of years. And when we get into our second concert, which we're describing as Around the World in 80 Minutes, we have pieces that span no less than 12 different languages coming from the 4 directions. So we're featuring Scandinavian pieces. We're going to South America, to Brazil, to the East with pieces in Korean and Japanese. And then in the West with some of our more familiar composers such as Poulenc and others. So that's really going to be an around-the-world experience.
Absolutely. We'll break all that down in just a moment, but we're coming up very rapidly onto that Christmas concert that is in December. What makes that concert such an indelible part of the holiday music collection here in the city of Winnipeg?
Well, as the skies begin to darken into the winter months, oftentimes as we break out of November into December, we're looking for something that will really make us feel some interior joy. The Christmas concert also tends to be very much a family-oriented event. In recent years, we've had large elementary school choirs. They tend to bring out their parents and their family members, and we mix some of the pieces that we sing, along with a number of opportunities for the audience to join us in some of the more familiar things that we often hear at Christmas. Oftentimes ending, of course, with the Alleluia chorus of Handel.
That is always such a beloved part of any holiday season. So we have that experience coming up in December. An experience, by the way, I understand has already been quite popular, with tickets having been in quite high demand, I understand.
Yes, we typically sell out both of these concerts at Christmas. They occur on the same day. So we have a matinee on December the 14th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then with an evening reprise at 7 p.m., all hosted at Crescent Arts Center at Crescent Fort Rouge United Church here in Winnipeg.
Absolutely, right in the heart of Osborne Village, a beloved venue and perfect for those holiday choral vibes, as we have been talking about. But then we get into 2026 for the Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir, Around the World in 80 Minutes, an incredibly evocative title, and you hinted at some of the musical languages, musical traditions that this concert features. When it comes to creating a concert like this, what kinds of things does the Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir consider in its preparations, and how do the singers then take up the mantle of trying to do justice by all of these different musical traditions?
Now, here we have to appeal to a wonderfully dedicated group among us as choristers, and that's our program committee. And the program committee has perhaps the most daunting job year in and year out, assembling oftentimes a minimum of 3 major concerts throughout the season. And that collaboration, of course, takes place very, very closely with our maestro, Yuri Claus, who will now be going into his 26th season as our leader. And so very much a situation, Nolan, where the programming comes almost from a sort of grassroots, from the experiences that many of these dedicated choristers have had some of them whose work with the Philharmonic is getting close to 40 or perhaps 50 years of singing.
Wow, that's really one of the most remarkable parts of the Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir is the dedication of its membership, that it's able to return and be a part of this choral family. We mentioned off the top, John, you've been singing for, by comparison, a mere 4 years, which is still quite a dedicated amount of time, but that's, you just said it, like there's members in there that have almost 50 years of experience and maybe even some beyond. What is that like when you're in the rehearsal room and you're singing alongside of these people who have such a history with the Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir and all of the different musical traditions and languages that it has engaged with over the years?
Well, Nolan, it takes me back almost 50 years to the beginnings of my own choral development as a young lad in London, Ontario, at St. Peter's Choir School and Orchestra. It was almost like being in a situation where we were in a glee-type school from grade 5 all the way through to the end of high school. So that's where the seeds of that were planted. It was quite accidental for me to be introduced to the Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir just perhaps 4 or 5 years ago. And of course, like many other arts organizations, we lost about 2.5 years of that span as we navigated through the pandemic as best we possibly could, including our 100th anniversary season.
Right.
But the real passion that comes from this type of choral group is when you mix 50 or 60 voices and then add all of the orchestral instrumentation. Many times, even in rehearsals, it can bring many of us to tears. There's just so much emotion behind the music. And of course, a great deal of work that goes into the rehearsing in the days and weeks leading up to our concerts.
Right. So that's building this incredible, all that experience is able to help build that incredible musical tapestry that will be summed up in just 80 minutes as you go around the world in 80 minutes. Then we get to your third concert of the season, With Love, Wolfie, Letters from Mozart, partnership with the Winnipeg Singers, also directed by Yuri Claus, and the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. When you're looking at this kind of personal portrait of one of history's most celebrated composers, what kinds of things can audiences expect to hear that I'm sure that they'll be familiar with in some cases, but how do you provide a personal portrait of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart in this regard?
The real breakthrough, Nolan, with this concert is going to be bringing center stage not just Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, but his virtually unknown older sister, Maria, who went by the nickname Nannerl. By many modern musicology accounts, her music, her written compositions, all of which apparently have been lost to history, may in fact be included within the oeuvre of what we describe as having come from the quill of Wolfgang himself. She, when she was young, was as celebrated as any young prodigy could have been and toured with her father in the same manner in which the younger brother eventually went on these tours to display the enormous ability. Maria was a very accomplished keyboardist, and it's really, really intriguing to now bring this forward to the modern day, and we are featuring Laura Koliznik, a local actress, who is going to be reading portions of letters from Wolfgang and replies from Nannerl. And this will now bring somewhat of a dramatic element as we weave this kind of epistolary relationship between the letters of the 18th century and here now in 2025. But then amidst these letters, you're going to feel the glorious pieces from Mozart's Requiem, which will really make for a remarkable experience.
What do you hope that audiences take away about Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, his life and his music, as his Requiem, unfinished in his lifetime, is presented alongside of these correspondences? What do you hope that audiences will appreciate about this musical life that maybe they wouldn't have before?
Probably the very almost pedestrian human element that can come into the day-to-day lives of individuals. We tend to look upon many of the most luminous composers and artists from previous eras in a manner in which they are not only larger than life, but we perpetuate the great mythologies that surround their characters. I think it's very important to dig a little bit deeper and to recognize that there are family dynamics that occur. And in this particular case, we really want to bring forward the whole notion that there are many women's voices and many women's quills and pens in terms of composition that could have been lost to history unless there were individuals who have the opportunity and the wherewithal to dig more deeply into these histories and bring this forward. And wouldn't it be marvelous to imagine that one day we realize that there are certain pieces attributed to Wolfgang that in fact were penned by his older sister?
Yes, absolutely. What a wonderful discovery that would be. So we're talking about the Christmas with the Phil, Let There Be Peace on Earth, around the world in 80 minutes, and With Love, Wolfie, Letters from Mozart. These are the three concerts that make up the Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir's 2025-2026 season. And the best way to enjoy these concerts, I understand, John, is with a season subscription package. Why don't you tell us about the savings that people can enjoy if they get in on that deal, that offer of these three great concerts for one incredible price?
Well, not only will you have an opportunity to witness three very, very different programs, you have about a 30 to 35% savings on your ticket pricing. We also have senior level ticket pricing as well as for young people who are under the age of 30. So we have three tiers of pricing. The real advantage ultimately is to be able to explore, as I mentioned previously, three very, very different approaches, ultimately culminating in one of those marvelous moments where we have full orchestra, full voice, and drawing it all to a close in the spring.
Really excited to see all of these concerts coming to life. We'll have more information about the Winnipeg Philharmonic Choir's 2025-2026 season at our website, classic107.com, and on the Classic 107 app. John Murray, it's been so wonderful getting to hear more about this upcoming season with you here today. Thanks so much for stopping by the studios to tell us more about it.
Thank you, Nolan.